Welcome to another episode of Try and Keep Up. Today, we're talking to Rita Magalde. She is the owner and creative force behind Sheer Ambrosia Bakery, where she makes her world-famous baklava. Rita was born in New York City, raised in North Carolina, and developed her love of other cultures while working at a Greek restaurant in high school. This is where she learned how to make her world-famous baklava. Rita's lived and studied in Ecuador, Spain, and moved to Salt Lake City in 1996. She owned a successful travel business for 10 years before starting Sheer Ambrosia Bakery in 2008. Rita's journey has been anything but a straight line. She's a true hustler, master of the art of the pivot, and an all-around amazing human. I'm so excited for you to hear her story. Let's get into it. So this is a Try and Keep Up podcast, and today I have Rita Magalde. She's the owner and creative force behind Sheer Ambrosia Baklava. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited to have you here. You have a great, thriving business, but also such an exuberance and lightness and brightness about you. I felt when I first met you, I had to have you on the podcast and just find out more about you and what drives you and just a little bit about what's behind your energy. So we'll talk a little bit about that today. Just starting off, tell me one word today that describes how you feel right now.
I am enthusiastic about the future.
I think that is such a good way to start, because I was just telling you, I am so enthusiastic about your business and your business model. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what it is for people that don't know, and a little bit about what baklava is for people you don't know. But you have a little bit of a different business model. You're not like a traditional bakery.
Right.
So just tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I started Sheer Ambrosia Bakery from my home kitchen in 2008. I started out with baklava, and I told myself that I wanted it to be a European type bakery, or a bakery where I would bring not just baklava, but other desserts eventually into the mix. But it has evolved into a 15 flavor baklava bakery as of now. I kind of stuck with the baklava. It definitely is a different kind of baklava, though. Let's just say that I learned to make baklava from a Greek family growing up in North Carolina, but my first love of baking was inspired by my mother. My mother was an excellent cook and baker. I mean, she had 5 children, and they were blue-collar workers, my mom and dad. And so they were always on a budget and, having to feed 5 kids. And so cooking from scratch was just always my mom's thing. And I would sit on a stool and just watch her work her magic when I was a little girl, not just with baking, but with cooking. And I just grew to love watching her create these amazing meals that we enjoyed as a family. And at the end of every meal, my dad would give her praise, and he would say, "Girls, your mom did it again. Another amazing meal." And, feeding people with your love was just something that I learned from her. And again, the Greek family, I give them all the credit. They taught me how to make baklava, but my mom was and self-taught baker as well. She made the best apple pies and peach cobblers and pecan pies and cakes. And she made donuts from scratch. She was making donuts before I ever heard of Krispy Kreme donuts.
Oh, wow.
Yeast donuts.
Mm-hmm.
I remember as a kid watching her, knead the dough and putting it in the oven to rise, the yeast dough to rise, and then bringing it back out and pounding it a couple more times and letting it rise. And so, I understood how you could really put your love into food. And I got to be one of the recipients of her delicious cooking. And so I wanted to do the same thing with my own family.
I get that makes a lot of sense now. I know a little bit about your history, and you were really going through a difficult time. You'd been a successful entrepreneur in a business, but you were going through a divorce. You had 2 little kids, and it makes sense to me now that you would take kind of refuge in your kitchen, right?
Absolutely.
Something that made you happy, that you were comfortable with. And that's kind of how this whole industry that you're in, the company that you're in was born, right?
Like you said, I owned a travel agency before with my husband. We started that business together, and we actually stayed business partners for 4 years after our divorce. But it became more and more clear that in order for me to just heal from the pain of the divorce, I would have to, part ways with him, in the business as well as the personal life. And so right after he bought me out in July of 2008. And by October, I had started Sheer Ambrosia. And it was, again, 2008, in the middle of the economic crisis here in the United States. And so I had money from the buyout from the business that we owned, but I didn't have the clientele to take my business into a commercial space at that time. I just didn't have any customers.
Sure, you were a startup.
Yeah, I was a complete startup. And so someone had told me, and I wish I remember who it was, but someone had told me about the cottage food program through the Department of Agriculture and Food that allows home bakers. Well, it depends on what you make, because you have to make sure that the recipes are approved through them. But I applied and found out that, yes, I could start my bakery from home. And so I thought, well, this is perfect, because my little girl was 4 years old at the time. My son was 8. I had been very active in their school, and I wanted to still continue to be an active, mom in the school system, right? Just because now I'm a single mom, I didn't want it to affect my children. And so I thought, well, this is perfect. I can work from home. I can slowly build this business. I can still volunteer at the school. I can still pick them up at 3:00 when they get out, and, still kind of have the best of both worlds.
Oh yeah, been there, done that. You really want to try to make it seamless, right? So you kind of take the burden of everything, and then you try to make it, hopefully, so they're not feeling anything about that. So you start this cottage business. I mean, you've now grown it to having a standalone space and really have evolved it into more of a wholesale national business. So starting off in your home in 2008, fast forward to 2025, you have a thriving national business now based on a wholesale platform, which I thought was super smart.
Yeah. So basically I have three ways that Sheer Ambrosia makes money. I have my online store, which I would love to talk about how I really got that going. And I have National Public Radio to thank for that. But what we
Kai Rizdal.
Yes. Marketplace.
Yes.
Yes. I have them to thank for that. And then I have my wholesale leg of the business, which the Crown Burger franchise, Olympus Burger, both of their locations, the Med was actually my very first wholesale client in 2009. And they are still with me. They still buy my baklava every month, every couple of weeks. And I've got hotels now. I've got a couple of coffee shops. And now that I have moved the business into a commercial space, taken it out of my home, now it's really going to grow even more. So I'm excited about that leg of the business. And then the third leg of the business that I'm super excited about is the corporate gifting side of the business that I am expanding now. Now, I started that as a result of I was I was invited to join the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses program. I am Utah's member of cohort 32. And the first day in the program, they told us, okay, we're going to come up with they wanted us to come up with a new way of growing, a new growth plan for our business. And so originally I wanted it to be, getting into the airport, which I'm working on. But I decided that, corporate gifting is really the way to go to grow my business, because giving gifts, companies that give gifts are the companies that grow. Because when you show appreciation, not just to your employees, but to your current customers, prospective customers, when you say thank you for coming and working for me every day and giving me at least 8 hours of your time, or for your customers, thank you for giving me your business, for choosing me to give your money, your resources. You chose me to give your resources to. So here's a gift to say to thank them for that. Whenever you do that, it makes them want to continue to use you. It makes them want to refer you to other people. And so I've always given my baklava as gifts to my friends. In fact, that's how I started the business for years. I gave baklava to my friends. I take it to parties. I used to be heavily involved in dancing Argentine tango. I take it to all the tango events. All things tango. Everybody in the tango community knew the baklava came from Rita. And people would ask me, like, where did you get this? Who made this? Huh? I made it.
Of course.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. I love that you have the 3 revenue streams and you're very clear on that. Corporate gift giving is such a great, everything you do. I really, when I kind of started to do research on your company, you're just very smart about not being able to project what you're making. So you're not just making it, hoping people come in. Mm-hmm. So you really have paid orders by the time they go out the door. Mm-hmm. So super, super smart. But let's talk about your online business and how you are a star on Marketplace that Kai Risdall does, which is just, such the pinnacle, right?
Yeah.
Of having someone recognize you nationally.
Yeah, it was an amazing opportunity. And unfortunately, I take a deep breath because how it came about was during the pandemic. We were all at home and we were all on pins and needles in front of our televisions, wondering what this whole, COVID-19 was and how it was going to affect our lives. And we were, in front of the television watching the news. And about that same time is when the George Floyd issue happened, when he was murdered. And then the Black Lives Matter, all of that started happening, and we were already stopped and at home, and we were all stuck at home, remember? And we were just watching and waiting, like, how is this going to affect us? And just all of it. And so people started protesting, and then other people said, I don't really want to protest, but I would like to support Black-owned businesses. Mm-hmm. And at the time, so let's go back. So this was in March of 2020 when COVID hit and we were starting to go on lockdown. And my baklava orders dried up. I was scared to death. I had a son in college at the time, and my daughter was at her school, which is a private school. So I was paying tuition in 2 different schools and running my business, and my income stream dried up. I immediately in March ran out and got a job. And I was the office manager at an industrial construction company out in West Jordan. And I was sitting there in let's see, so fast forward. So I started that job in March. Fast forward to May. It was May 25th, I believe, that George Floyd was murdered. And folks in Utah started saying, hey, we're going to support Black-owned businesses. And I was sitting at my desk in this new job. So I was only a month and a half in to this new job. And all of a sudden, my phone started dinging and pinging and ringing. And I picked it up, and all these people started liking my bakery on Instagram and then on Facebook. And I'm like, what is that? I didn't.
What did I do here?
Yeah. And especially at that point, I had kind of shifted gears to this new job because my business had kind of temporarily died because
you're scrappy like that. You're like, I mean, that's what we do, right? You're just like,
we pivot.
Yeah. Pivot.
That is the word.
I wrote that down.
The word of the day.
Yeah. I wrote that down as part of you. Like, you don't see problems. You just pivot.
Yes.
So you were scrappy. Yes. You were like, this is what needs, this is my family. This is what we're going to do to take care of it. This is how we're going forward now for now.
Exactly. So I'm at this job. My phone's dinging, and turns out somebody had put together a list of Black-owned businesses, and they were like, support these businesses. I remember even driving down I-15. I don't know why I was on the road, but seeing a sign down in Utah County, and it was about supporting Black-owned businesses. And I pulled over on the side of the road, and I took a picture of that billboard because it just warmed my heart that people cared about us. And so I told my boss, and I said, oh my gosh, which, by the way, this guy, his name is Michael Nicolosi. He gave me that job knowing that I had a business. He knew that I was very devoted to my business, but he understood that my business was not doing well and that I was a single mom and needed to take care of my kids. And he gave me that job. And so we worked together, and he was, I said, yeah, I told him about all these things. And he said, oh gosh, he goes, well, are you getting orders? And I said, yeah, the orders are coming in. He goes, well, you know what? It's not very busy right now. Go home and take care of your customers.
Wow. What goodness.
Yes.
I mean, out of something that was potentially devastating for a lot of people, you really had this bubble up effect where all of the goodness was hitting you.
Yeah.
That's like the universe being like, girl, no, we got you. Yeah. We got you. And you know what? The fact I think that I'm like going to start to cry. The fact that you pivoted and really were able to transition, I feel like you get sort of more rewards in the universe when you do that, when you're like, oh no, I'm not going down with this. We're all going up. It's just going to be a little bit of a different up.
Right.
A different way to get there.
Yep. So I went home. I took care of my customers. I was back to work, but it was either the next day or the day after that. And then someone from the Salt Lake Tribune called and said, we would love to feature you in an article, your business, where we want to support Black-owned businesses. We would like to interview about your business. And so they did. They asked me my feelings on the whole George Floyd thing. And, I was a little nervous. I remember thinking, gosh, I didn't want to say the wrong thing. I didn't want to step on toes, ruffle feathers, but I said my piece, and no one seemed to be too upset about it. I was just so excited that people cared what I thought. They cared about my business, and they wanted to know my opinion. And so shortly after that, a producer from National Public Radio's Marketplace. So one of Kai Rizdal's producers called me, and she said, hey, we saw the piece in the Salt Lake Tribune and we want to interview you. Are you open to it? Now, listen, I love National Public Radio.
Yeah.
I listen to it all the time while I'm out delivering orders. It keeps me sane on the road, listening to amazing stories all day long as I'm driving. And I knew exactly who they were because I watch and listen to Marketplace all the time. And so I was, of course, yes, I want to be interviewed. And so we did that first interview. I believe it was June 16th, 2020. That's when it aired. And that day, I knew exactly when it was airing, where it was airing, because the orders just started flowing in from the East Coast, from Maine down to Florida, and then the Midwest, and a customer from Ohio who I still talk to this very day. I talked to him yesterday. He called me after hearing the story and placed an order with me over the phone. When I answered the phone, Sheer Ambrosia Bakery, this is Rita. He said, "The Rita? Like, I just heard you on the radio and you answer your own phone?" I said, "Absolutely, I do. How can I help you?"
Oh, that's so funny. You're like, "Sorry, my team's busy right now." My team of me.
Yeah, right. And so, and then our time zone, the mountain time zone, the Pacific. And I mean, it was just absolutely amazing what that 1 3-minute interview did for my business. They have since had me on a total of 11 times.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize that.
11 times they've
You're a fan favorite.
Well, they keep calling to check in, and I'm never going to turn them down. And it has done wonders for my business. I am now out of my house into, like you said, this commercial space that I built out in 2023. I moved in January of 2024. So I've been there, a year and 9 months. And it's been challenging because now I have 2 sets of expenses. Mm-hmm. When you're working from home, you just, your work bills and your home bills are all just kind of meshed into the same pot. But now I have, 2 sets of expenses. And so working on building the business so that it can handle, having those extra expenses. And I had something amazing happen this morning. I'm super excited about. I can tell you about that.
Do tell. Can you tell us? Are we first? Is this breaking news?
Well, kind of, absolutely.
I love it.
So I have had to reach out, and, when you're financing a business, it's not just about, getting enough money for the build out, right?
Right. So it's not just working capital.
Right. It's not just the build out. I need working capital. And so I had to get another loan to help me to continue to grow. And during one of my meetings with a banker, he invited me to his BNI. And that meeting was this morning at 7:30. And so I went to that BNI, and it was the most welcoming group of mostly men. It's so interesting because there was only one other woman at this BNI, and they are, I wouldn't say desperate, but they want to be more diverse.
Okay.
They said that. They said, we need more women and we want diversity. And I loved hearing that. And they're just a good group of guys who want to help, that are helping each other grow their businesses. And they're like, we want to help you grow your business. We want to see you succeed and thrive and do well. And one of the gentlemen that was there, we're going to dinner or to lunch tomorrow. And he's coming to the bakery. He wants to see where the magic happens. So I'm going to meet him at the bakery, and then we're going to go to lunch, and we're going to come up with a strategy on helping me grow my business.
Well, that's awesome. For BNI, for people that don't know, it's a business, it's a national networking, it's a national networking association.
Yeah.
So there are chapters all over, and it's really business owners helping business owners. Mm-hmm. So these are everywhere, but you went to the one in Salt Lake, it sounds like.
Yeah, it's
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was right down the street actually, and it was such a productive meeting. I met so many amazing people. I'm very excited to join the group. I will join the group. Another amazing thing that's happened, again, as a result of people wanting to be more inclusive, is back in June, the management of the fashion place Nordstrom reached out to me and said, hey, we would love for you to, in celebration of Juneteenth, we would love to have your bakery come and do a pop-up at Nordstrom.
That's cool.
Oh, is that cool? That is, Nordstrom customers are my perfect demographic. They are usually well-traveled. They have more discretionary income. They appreciate my baklava and my packaging and what I do. And a lot of them are business owners. And so they appreciate the corporate gifting side of my business. And they just know what it is, appreciate the packaging, appreciate the baklava itself. And they want what I have.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not a hard sell.
It's not a hard seller.
So, and just to give like context. So we're talking about baklava, which is like really it's a crazy, delicious confection with phyllo and honey and almonds or walnuts and a lot. Yours are very creative, but just to kind of give context to what it is. It's sort of like your baklava is like having a hamburger at a really fancy steakhouse where the fries are fried in duck fat. And you're like, oh, this is great. And comparing it to like a hamburger from McDonald's where you're like, all right, you could argue they're similar, but they're really not. They're on two different levels. Yeah. Like that's what your baklava is. Your baklava is next level confection.
Yeah.
For whatever the prototype was, you've sort of blown that up and made it your own. And it's truly next level.
Thank you. It's artisan work.
It is. Yes.
It's
yes.
artisan. It's handmade. So I studied Spanish. Hablo español. I have a degree in Spanish. I lived in Spain. I've traveled throughout Europe, and I have seen different artisan works, different things. One of my favorite stores is Williams-Sonoma, where they have some of the most beautiful artisan handcrafted pots and pans and things that they have sourced from Italy, the mountains of Italy, those copper pots that are hand hammered. I mean, I think of it as something like that, right? It's definitely a fusion of my Southern roots as well as the Greek culture, but this is old world baking. It's not a machine that makes this.
Right.
We hand lay those 45 layers of phyllo dough. We lay it. Now, I won't say that I make the phyllo dough. If I made the phyllo dough, then this couldn't be a business.
Right.
Because it
would never labor intensive.
Yes. It's already super labor intensive as it is. But I have sourced what I think is the best phyllo dough. But at any rate, we hand lay and we butter each one of those layers.
Buttered with butter and love.
With real
butter and real love.
Yeah.
And intention.
Yeah. Not canola oil. That honey syrup that we pour over the golden brown baklava after it comes out of the oven. That's real honey, real ingredients. In fact, I buy all of my nuts whole. I don't buy them pre-chopped. I buy them whole because I want to see that it's all nuts.
Well, you're controlling. So you're being intentional about the process and controlling the process, which is super important to control the quality of the end product.
Right.
I mean, there's no way you could do it if you were unsure about something.
Exactly. Now, and it's tempting because when you look at the cost of buying a bag of nuts that are, I mean, you know, when you go to the store and you buy cashews, if you buy the can that's pieces versus the can where they're big, plump, whole cashews, the price point is very different.
Mm-hmm.
But if I buy the whole nut, then I know when I chop it that it's all the nut.
Yes. You know exactly what's going in there. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think I think there's a little bit of an intangibleness about your product because you really literally can taste like the brightness and the love and the intention. And you can even feel it in your space when you come into the bakery. So there's the product, but there's like an intangible nature to it. And I think that translates into what you get as an end product. Mm-hmm. So you can't quantify it, but it's there because that's why people are so excited about it. That's why Kai Risdall has had you on for 11 times. By the way, I love it when he revisits. I listen to it too. I love it when he revisits businesses because I like to know that they're surviving, thriving, moving forward, right? It's kind of, you're like, oh, they did it. They made it. They're still there and they're booming and, whatever. So it's fun that he continues to do that. So,
kudos to the editors who work with him because, they take 30-minute, 45-minute conversations and narrow it down to 2 and 3 minute interviews. And that's what you hear. I never know exactly what's going to be on the show because we have really long conversations and I enjoy telling them the whole story. And I don't have a say over really what they choose to air. I mean, I have to say there've been a couple of times I was like, oh God, don't say that. Don't put that part, But for the most part, I am just as excited to hear what I'm going to say as everyone else.
What were those 3 minutes? Those 3
what did they
golden
pick?
Moments that came out of it.
Yeah. But whatever what they've always chosen have been the parts that people really resonate with because I get a lot of emails and phone calls and, hey, now these are people driving down the road a lot of times, and they'll either pull over or when they get to where they're going, they'll look me up. They don't say at the end of it, Rita Magalde, Sheer Ambrosia, here's her email, here's her phone number, here's how you get in touch with her. No, they have to do their due diligence and find me.
Tell us where you are,
www.sheerambrosia.com.
Just in case you're driving, that's now you know where to find her.
Yeah.
So, and that's where the magic happens from your website.
Yeah.
What do you think is your superpower in this and what got you here?
I love creativity. I love making food look beautiful. I love making packages look beautiful. I love creating those little gift tags that I make. I love making it feel personal. So when I work with companies, I always tell them, okay, this gift tag that, because I always give them a sample, right? This gift tag that you see on the sample that I gave you, that has my logo on it, but I could put your logo on this and I could put your, saying, your special saying, or, whatever you want me to say, tell me what you want me to say. And then I'll come up with 3 designs for you. And then I will go into the system that I use and I'll create something really pretty for them. And that is so much fun for me.
Well, that's interesting. So you're really invested in the end product and what people are seeing as the end product.
Yeah.
And that's such an important part of the process because sometimes, people are interested in the baking or they're interested in some of the preliminary things, but you really have an interest in delivering the final product and what it means to people once they have it in their hands. I mean, that's just such an interesting, it's good that that's where you landed with, because that's the most important piece is the takeaway.
Well, we live in a society now where everything is just microwave. It's fast. It's
cookie
made
cutter
by a machine. It's cookie cutter. It's all of that. And I want to, at least in this part of your life, when you're giving a gift to somebody, whether it's your mom at Mother's Day, a client, during the holidays, or a bereavement. I do lots of bereavement gifts, that the person you're giving it to really feels special. I have a card that I put inside, a little tiny little card. When they open the box, that's the first thing they see. And it says, "Congratulations, you are the recipient of premium handmade artisan baklava that was made to order especially for you." Something like that. And it is my way of making people feel special, because with all the social media, I just feel that people are lonely and people don't feel special anymore.
Kind of isolated, right?
People are isolated. And so I want people, because I'll be honest, I've been through periods of my life where I have been very lonely and scared. And, my family is all on the East Coast. And so, except for my children, and I am the fourth of 5 daughters. So I grew up in a very loud, bustling home where people were always in and out. I have cousins and friends, and, just people are always, I grew up with people always around me. And then, we moved to Utah as a couple, and my husband and I, and we knew no one, really. We met the couple that encouraged us to move to Utah. We had just met them in Spain, because I moved to Utah from Spain. And so I really didn't have anyone here. And so, of course, I've been here for a while now. So I have my own, I've created my own family here in Utah. But there have been times where I have felt very alone. And having known, when you've been through that, it creates this empathy and compassion for other people. And so I can almost feel when a person is going through something like that. And so when people come into my bakery, I always like to make them feel special. I always give them a free piece of baklava. I say, "This is what I have today. Which one would you like to sample? I'm going to let you sample it on me." And I've had people come in really grumpy and really with a scowl on their face, and they leave and they feel like family.
Yeah, impossible to leave your location scowling. I don't care what you bring in. And I'm sure sometimes you're like, "Ooh, that's some big energy there." But there's no way you can leave without just feeling taken care of and nurtured, and that the baklava has been created specifically for them. I remember you recommended a flavor for me, peach. And I was like, I didn't really get how peach and baklava could coexist, because peach is like juicy, right? And baklava is crispy. I had a moment, I was just like, I don't really get this, but you were like, "You really should try it." And I was like, "Okay, I will." And I was like, still like, And then I didn't. I was like, she must have known. Like, I felt like you were feeling my feelings. Like, she knew. She had to like kind of, you knew what I needed. And sort of like, why don't you expand yourself for a moment? Is kind of what I felt like you were telling me. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I got it. It was such I don't know. I had like a little moment of like, ooh, she's a very intuitive lady. So it's a cool experience though. What would you say has been the most surprising part of your journey?
Surprising. There are a lot of good people in this world, and I say it's surprising because we live in a time right now where it seems like there are a lot of angry, nasty, just angry people. There's just angry people everywhere, and that is true, but it doesn't mean that there aren't an equal number of really kind, amazing people. And I don't know what it is about the baklava, but the baklava attracts all those amazing, kind people.
I love that so much because I do think that it's easy to get caught up on the other side, but it's so nice that you get to see the bubble up effect of something so small like baklava can really be impactful, and you see the whole other side of what you almost like what you want to see. Like you really, when you say you create your own reality, that's the reality that you wanted.
Well, and there are people that can flip, and I can see that, we can't talk about that. Let's go back to talking about baklava.
Yeah.
Because
it's neutral.
Yes.
Right. So it's a platform. It's like a neutral platform. It's something everyone can get behind.
Well, and it's just, there's so many foodies. We all love good, wholesome, gourmet, just yummy food. And especially if it's something interesting and new and different. So I wrote a book back in 2016 about getting through my divorce. And after I wrote the book, and it was cathartic, right? I wrote it for me, but I also wrote it to help other women going through divorce. So after the book came out, and I had so many people interested in telling me, oh my gosh, I read your book. And you remember when you said X, Y, and Z? Well, that same thing happened to me. And thank you for putting that in your book, because I was so embarrassed that I did that. And you said you did it too. And, I don't feel so alone. I don't feel so dumb. And I was like, yeah, I'm happy to be an example. And I'd love for people to learn from my mistakes and not make them themselves,
Or sometimes there's comfort in knowing someone else did it, right?
Yeah.
And just being seen.
Exactly.
So if you can't learn from it, at least know that it's not that unusual or that you're not the only one.
Yes.
Sometimes there's a lot of comfort in.
Exactly. So anyway, where I'm going with this is, so I went through this period where, because, like I said, I was getting all this feedback, like, maybe I could be a divorce coach. Maybe I could help people. I mean, I'm not a licensed therapist and that would take a long time, but I Googled it, and sure enough, there were people coaching women through divorces. And so I got certified to be a divorce coach. I jumped through all the hoops and all the classes and spent all the money. And I even set up a space very much like this one right here where we're at. And I was in business, and I wasn't in business. And we're going to go back to that word pivot. I wasn't in that business very long, because what I found was that I was starting to take on other people's awful, awful, sad energy, other people's divorces and their situations and their tragedy. Because, divorce is a tragedy. It is a tragedy.
Yeah.
And I was just so sad dealing with those and hearing all the stories. And I very quickly said, baklava just seems like so much fun now. I'm going back to that,
Well, you're an empath. So that's your natural state, is just to feel.
Yes.
I think that's why sometimes the empaths of the world, myself included, like run to the kitchen when we're having too many feelings, because it's such a neutral space. Mm-hmm. Like you can control it. The outcome is going to be good and it'll make someone feel happy. So like I know that's what I do. If I'm really feeling a lot of feelings and energy, and I'm like, all of a sudden someone will come by and they're like, what, how many things have you made today? I'm like, oh, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So that's so, well, I think we should just end on the fact that your business brings goodness about all over with people and the end product and the energy. And I think that's what I felt when I walked in there. And I think that's what we're all looking for right now, is just some way that we can see the goodness in things. Mm-hmm. And I think maybe everyone should just go to sheerambrosia.bakery.com and order some baklava shipped all over the country.
I can ship it anywhere you want me to. And, you know, if you need me to write a special note, when you're on the website and you're placing your order, there's a place for you to put a message, type a message. You type it, but I handwrite it. So,
that's a nice touch.
So when whoever gets your order, they get a beautiful handwritten note from you. This wonderfully made baklava treat that is not your normal baklava, packaged in a beautiful, beautiful package. So it's definitely the gift to give. And it doesn't matter what. I even have a card that says, just because. Mm-hmm. You know, there doesn't have to be a reason. Which is kind of the best thing to do, right? Yeah. Best gift to get is when you're just like, oh, someone was thinking about me. Mm-hmm. Well, you can, in addition to finding this on Try and Keep Up podcast, watch for you on the updates on NPR and Kai Rizdal. Mm-hmm. And it's been so fun to have you here. And I can't wait. We might have to have an update too in a year and see where you are with all of your, with your business sort of ripe for expansion right now. I would love that. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to tell people about my passion and my love. My business. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for listening to the Try and Keep Up podcast. Check back every Tuesday for new episodes, because Tuesday's the most productive day of the week. And remember, the magic you're looking for is in the work that you're avoiding.